Welcome to Sew and Tell, where sewists from fashion, theater, and indie sewing bring their different perspectives to the hottest topics in the sewing community. I'm Amanda Carestio.
I'm Meg Healy.
And I'm Kate Zeinard. Today on the podcast, we're talking sewing in quarantine. I mean, what else would we be talking about? How to use sewing for self-care and how you can use your skills to sew your support. Before we jump in, though, we thought we'd talk a little about how the current situation is affecting us personally, and of course, what our stay-at-home style is. Meg, you're our fashionista. What are you wearing right now?
I'm actually wearing the exact same thing I wore yesterday, but I have been trying to at least change into actual pants, like jeans. So I'm wearing some ripped Levi's that are now all wet because I just told you guys that I spilled my lunch on them and I don't want to wash them again. So I scrubbed them with a Tide to Go. So I'm wearing slightly wet Levi's and just like a vintage tee. So yeah, just trying to keep it not total jammy mode, but at least real pants in the day. And then once, 6 or 7 o'clock rolls on, those sweatpants are coming on.
Yeah,
what are you guys
all bets
wearing?
are off.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, I'm not sure I've actually explained this to you, Meg. Right before the whole quarantine thing started, like 2 business days before we went to work from home, I've been having some foot pain for months and months. I went to the podiatrist and I got a MRI, and it turns out I have a small tear in my plantar fascia. So my big quarantine fashion is a boot that keeps my foot from moving.
Oh my gosh, you're wearing a boot? Wow.
Yes, I'm wearing a stabilization boot. Immobilization, that's what it is. It's an immobilization boot on one foot, on my left foot. And so a lot of my fashion has ended up kind of going around the boot. So, I've been wearing a lot of stretchy pants, pajama bottoms sometimes. I have some exercise pants I wear a lot. Today, I'm actually wearing real pants. I'm wearing my Pagosa pants because they're very wide-legged and they'd go on very nicely over the boot. I have learned to not care if my socks match because you cannot see my sock under this thing. And so I have very specific socks I like to wear under the boot. And then whatever I put on my other foot is just whatever I feel like putting on at any given point in time.
Yeah.
But I haven't been wearing socks on that foot a whole lot, mostly slippers. So I'm kind of boot-tastic in my quarantine. Lots of t-shirts, lots of lounging stuff. I do try to put on something that resembles clothes, but it's not always something that resembles anything that I would wear to the office or anything like that. So yeah.
I have to say, I think that the boot must be perfect timing.
Yeah, I was thinking that.
I mean, you have to stay home.
It really is. I had one day because I had been planning to work from home the Friday before we went work from home anyway, because I needed to do some work here. And so I had one day at the office wearing the boot, and I had never realized how far my cubicles were from the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I can walk in it, but I'm not supposed to put my unbooted foot in front of my booted foot when I walk, because that's what puts the pressure on the tendon. And so I have to step forward with the boot and then basically match that step with my other foot. And so everything I do is like half distance from what I'm used to. And it's so irritating. And so it's very nice to be in my nice little house where I don't have to walk any long distances except to the mailbox and occasionally grocery shopping. So, but the cats are mad because my backyard is not particularly flat, and being on non-flat ground is not pleasant. So Mark has to do all of the taking of the cats outside.
Well, I have to say, I've been largely wearing jeans and t-shirts and mostly, putting on a fresh tee every day. But today I'm wearing my Roberts Collection dungarees, my little overalls.
Oh my gosh.
And I made these as my hangout overalls, because I have some linen overalls that I consider my going out overalls, which is hilarious that I even have that. So now, a couple weeks later, I didn't know what was about to happen, but I'm glad to have some hanging out overalls. They're super comfy. Nothing touching around the waist. They're kind of they're made to be kind of oversized.
Yeah.
And they're so comfortable, but this is dressed up for me. My standard style has been pretty low key.
I feel like
I think
it was
that's true for
like,
everyone.
Yeah. There was a meeting last week that we were in and we did like video and you were wearing like a super cute blouse, I remember. And I was like, oh, Amanda's like really stepping it up at home. I can't remember what day it was. And it was the most adorable blouse.
I know which one you're talking about. It's, it's the one I always compliment when she wears. It's like the stripy one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, which one is it? Is it Roscoe?
It's the Wilder gown, and the only reason I was wearing it is because I had to get some measurements from it for Kate. And I was like, I took it out of the drawer, so I guess I'll just put it on. So it was total accident.
Oh, that was funny. I know.
Yeah.
I saw you on the screen. I just thought, wow.
Yeah.
And then I thought I should step up my at-home fashion game.
No way. It was all for show. All for show.
Well, I appreciated it.
Oh, well, good.
Yeah.
Good.
I liked it.
Good.
Me too. I love that blouse.
I know. It looks super dressy no matter what you wear with it. Shall we hop in, you guys?
We should, but right before we do that, let's do a quick update on hashtag SewYourRoll, our Instagram challenge. We of course acknowledge that getting a hold of fabric is perhaps a little bit harder than it was when we launched this whole thing a whole 2 weeks ago, even though it feels like a million years.
Feels like months. Oh.
I know. Even I've ordered my fabric and I'm just waiting for it to ship and waiting for it to ship and waiting for it to ship. So I think we're going to go ahead and push back the due date for that one. We're going to say May 31st, the end of May for now. We'll kind of revisit that if we need to as we continue through our social distancing adventure nationally and globally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to bring it up because, I was going to bring it up because as Amanda was talking about her, what are they called? Dungaree? Is that I think that's what I'm going to make for my challenge. I just want to make like a bib like overall. So yeah, that was reminding me of that.
So fun.
Yeah. So we'll extend the deadline for that. And not really like a due date deadline. It's just because we're going to be doing some sort of giveaway for people who've rolled and made something and posted. So we're going to do something fun. Right. And that's just kind of, like a tentative end date if you would like to participate for sure.
I mean, the challenge will continue, but that's approximately where we're looking at picking a winner for our thing. I think honestly, all things considered, if you can't get your fabric, but you want to maybe do a sketch of what you will make based on your roll, once you have access to fabric, anything like that, I mean, we'll be really not strict about this one because, again,
sketch your roll.
Adventure. Does that work for everybody? I totally sprung that on them without bringing it up in advance.
No, that works for me. No additional stress during this time. This should be fun and creative and fun.
Yeah, have fun.
Fun,
all right.
fun. Yeah.
And on the topic of reducing stress, shall we jump into our first segment?
Mm-hmm.
Let's
do that for a segue.
Smooth. Smooth ride.
All right. Well, I think I've mentioned this here before on the podcast, but sewing is something that I definitely turn to in stressful situations. But I think that a lot of people have the exact opposite response, and sewing is the furthest thing from their mind in a situation like this. And I think that both responses are totally valid. But I did want to talk through those feelings today, check in with you guys to see where you're at with all of that, and share ideas for getting inspired if sewing is something that you want to do right now, ways that you can do kind of sewing related activities that have nothing to do with being in front of your sewing machine. So really just a chance to check in and share some ideas. So yeah, where do you guys fall on the spectrum? Are you someone who sews when they're stressed, or do you skip it?
Sewing for me is not like super stress relief. I mean, it's not really stressful either. It's kind of moderate. So I don't like, it's not like, oh my God, I'm so stressed, I need to go sew. I mean, what I do is, oh my God, I'm so stressed, I need to take a nap. But I don't have a problem sewing when I'm stressed. I just, it's not what I turn to specifically for stress relief. And the fact that I've been taking extra naps because I'm stressed means that I haven't been sewing as much as I probably would like to have been. But yeah, that's where I stand.
It's not always my first thing, but I know from when I've been in like a stressful situation before, if I do start to sew, I know I feel better 100%. And if it's something, it definitely just depends on the sewing project too.
Right.
Yeah, it needs to be something maybe that's like doing some like bulk sewing or something easy, something for someone like I'm not going to jump into like my alterations pile and like start like something crazy new. Yeah, but it definitely really helps. I just always remind myself it's so much. Yeah, it's for me, it's a lot easier just to grab a tub of ice cream and sit on the couch and like watch mindless TV. But that always doesn't make me feel better. But when I just say, you know what, I'm really stressed, I should go sew, and I know 9 times out of 10, it really does help. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on that. It's not like I think in some moments I know if I go sew, I'll feel better. I'll feel less stressed out. But it's knowing that it usually does make me feel better. Getting inspired to do it can sometimes be a challenge.
Yeah.
But I do kind of feel like most of the time I make time for it. I feel better. And yeah, so I try to prioritize it. Have you guys been sewing during the quarantine that we're currently under, the stay-at-home orders? And if not, that's totally okay.
Yeah, I have been sewing for sure. Have you, Kate? I guess no. What good thing you have your sewing. It's your left foot, right? That your boots on.
It is. It's my left foot.
Okay.
I can still sew.
I
can sew and I can drive.
If you want to, yeah.
Oh, that would have come up a lot earlier if I couldn't sew at all.
Right.
Yeah, I can sew. I haven't done very much. I worked on a very small project a little bit, and it's kind of still sitting waiting for the final hand stitching to finish it up. I've actually jumped into a different project, which is rearranging my sewing room. And when I say rearranging, I don't mean rearranging, I mean cleaning. I mean taking all of the taking everything off the shelves that's, falling off in a big waterfall, and sorting through my fabric and deciding what has enough yardage to actually keep and what doesn't. Right. And so I'm kind of halfway through that because it's huge, and surprisingly having this thing on my leg makes doing everything exhausting. It's just like sitting on the floor and sorting through fabric is hard because one of my legs will start to go numb, one or the other. So yeah, I haven't actually started much sewing yet. I'm hoping to get there once I sort of make my space more welcoming for myself.
I know, Amanda, you've been sewing.
I've been sewing. I don't know.
Yeah, I love when I see a notification, you have a new story. I'm like, oh, like what's the progress of this? Has she started something else?
I know. It wasn't like a conscious thing. I think I just started and it felt good, so I kept going. And I'm seeing that a lot in my Instagram feed, and I think seeing a couple trends. Seeing people doing more hand embroidery, more kind of hand work, and using sewing as kind of a way to slow down.
Yeah.
Also, in the same vein, a lot of mending happening, which I think it's kind of. I think projects like that can provide some distraction.
Yeah.
But also like give you a sense of completion. And I think that's really kind of
Yes.
important when you are in a situation where there are so many things out of your control. I think that's part of the reason too that the creative process right now can feel so good because you get to make those decisions. You get to control the variables, assuming you have all the supplies you need.
Right.
And I think, people are really, really active online right now. And I think that the sewing community is providing a sense of connection for people, whether or not you're making stuff and posting it. You can check and see how other people are kind of, what they're doing in sewing, but also what they're doing in their lives to kind of deal with what's going on. I'm also seeing people work with their kids on sewing projects.
Yeah.
It's a moment when everything has kind of slowed down, when people are at home with their kids for long periods of time. And I did a blog post for Sew Daily that has some ideas for this. So if you're looking for, not a full-on sewing project, but some ways to kind of get your kids used to using a needle and thread, used to being around sewing supplies and sewing related tasks. So I'm seeing, I'm seeing people who do not feel like sewing at all. I'm seeing people who are sewing and sewing and sewing and can't stop and realize that it's kind of a stress response. But in this moment, I think it's all about doing what you can to kind of get through each day, one day at a time. And people are finding their own ways to do that. So, so one thing I wanted to tackle next as a group are ways that if you do want to sew, but you're not really feeling the inspiration, have a few ideas for like easy entry points. Things that you can do that will feel that are not those big challenging projects, Meg, as you mentioned. And one of the things that I'm seeing is people making cozy things, since we're not in many parts of the US and Canada, it's not warm yet. So kind of the last, gasp for making cozy sweatshirts, things that you can wrap up in. A lot of people making basics right now, like easy projects you don't have to think about too hard. Maybe it's something that you have made a bunch of times in the past, so you don't have to pay close attention to the instructions. So thinking about that opportunity. Another thing that's been on my mind lately is doing some refashioning projects.
Ooh, yeah.
I don't know if you guys have things that you have either purchased or made in the past that you had plans, they're hanging in your closet, but you're like, I always wanted to change that hemline or really, alter something in a pretty major way. Now's a good time. If you can't get fabric, to look to those projects.
Right.
I have, I actually got my parents in London to ship me a bridesmaid's dress that I wore, I think 5 years ago to my good friend's wedding. I had planned on making it into a jumpsuit for years, and I'm working on a special project that I'm doing that for. So, and I had the idea, instead of a long jumpsuit, I think I'm going to turn it into like more of like a romper and use some excess from the hem into like a frilly ruffle along the bottom. So I'm like, Mom, can you get like that bridesmaid's dress and ship it to me? So it came in the mail recently. So yeah, it was a time where I'm kind of looking to finally tackle those projects.
Exactly.
And they're not like too hard. It's not like replacing a zipper in a pair of jeans because, oh my gosh, like, I had someone ask me to do that the other day and I'm just like, I'm sorry.
It's like never the right time to do that.
I know.
I mean, it would pass a lot of time, but I just don't have the mental capacity, is what you said.
Yeah.
Something easy, like I will talk about this more later, but yeah, I've been sewing a bunch of masks. They're easy to sew, and like that bulk sewing, that's what my stress relief sewing looks like. It's doing like this kind of simple seams and, just it just keeps the machine humming and in a nice, like, sturdy fabric, not like a hard to work with fabric. So
exactly.
But definitely trying to those refashions for sure. The easy ones and the fun ones.
Right. Well, speaking of ways that you kind of like in this moment can use what you have, definitely seeing people being creative with their stash fabrics and their scraps. Lots of pieced garments out in the world, pieced bags, people and just getting creative. And I mean, I think that, it's necessary for some people in this situation, but I also just feel like it's so creative. Have you guys done a lot of scrap busting in the past? Like, do you tend to take your scraps out and try to make something with them, or let them go?
I tend to keep them in a laundry basket or a box or something and believe that I am someday going to do something with them, but not actually. So actually part of my cleaning situation is really taking a look at what I have and saying, is this something that I could piece? Because I've got a lot of smaller pieces of like knits. And it's like, okay, if I've got almost a yard of knit, fine, I can make that into a tank top. But if it's a half a yard of knit, I'm not going to piece that into something. I need to just let it go. But in the meantime, all my quilting cotton scraps are going into a little basket, because even if I never use them, my mom's a quilter. So eventually they can go to her if nothing else.
Well, actually, as I was going through all my, because I had to dig through, because I know like this, the fabric sets, where I'm giving masks to, they asked for certain fabrics, and so I had to dig through all. Of course, they were at the bottom of the last, of course. And so what I actually did is, go through my scraps, and the ones that would be kind of seasonal coming up, I'll show you guys on our video. But I got a notebook and I stapled them to each page. And so I can flip through and plan out. And I don't have them planned yet, but I've just at least taken a swatch just so I can remember that I have like a good amount. And I know that they're there somewhere. So if I'm, lacking inspiration, I can just flip through and be like, oh yeah, that one. And I'll know where it is. It just because I can't see, all of them are in a non-clear. I guess I should get a clear bucket, for my stashes. So I can at least
no, you still wouldn't be able to see everything. That's a brilliant idea, though. I love that. I actually,
I'll take a picture and upload for you guys in the show notes.
Yeah, please do. As I've been going through my cleaning thing here, I've run into several fabrics I forgot I had, and at least two that I don't remember acquiring. Now, to be fair, my husband also acquires fabric, so maybe it's his. But there are a couple moments where I'm just like, what is this and where did it come from? Why do I have this? So, that's a good way to keep that from happening.
Speaking of quilting, I definitely had a moment the other day when I was looking around my house and I was like, oh my gosh, I should really sew something for my house. Whether that's like a quilt or some pillows, or I'm definitely getting to that point where I'm just kind of sick of seeing the same stuff all day, every day.
Yeah, for sure. Like my resolution this year was to sew for the home a bit more. So I think, once I tackle some, I have a pair of my camo pants finally cut out. That once I complete those, then I'm going to finally move on to but
that's good. Yeah. And then and hand embroidery as well. Sometimes hand embroidery stresses me out because it's I don't know. It can be. I love the idea of working with my hands more. Not being in front of my machine, not being in the basement of my house, but being on the back porch. And I love that, but it doesn't usually tend to help me de-stress, but I feel like for some people it does.
Yeah. Most hand embroidery that I've tried has not been great for me, except for cross stitch, because I've been doing cross stitch since I was like 10, and it's so repetitive and I'm so used to counting it, and it doesn't it doesn't get frustrating at all. I can just do it forever, except the cat. The cat loves when I am pulling strings through a piece of fabric. And if she happens to be down there and I'm trying to do cross stitch, I have to stop because she tries to eat it. She'll bat at it. She'll grab it. She'll try to eat it. And then it's wet with cat spit, which is gross. And so same thing. I've been trying to do finish up some knitting projects. Exact same thing. I can do it as long as Maggie is somewhere else. But if Maggie makes an appearance, it has to go away because it's just going to turn into a mess otherwise. So it's all about the cat.
Love that.
Nice. Actually, yeah, well, we actually just made like a little, just kind of sewed a square, but we made Burry a little bed. I think I posted on my Instagram a little while ago, but just some fuzzy Shannon fabrics, like just because she lays in the same spot in like the corner of my studio. And so we laid like, just sewed a square and put some batting in it, and she just cozies on up. So cute.
Aww,
Yeah, sew for your pets too, eh?
Sew for your pets.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I have seen some really good outfits out there.
Oh, yeah.
Some like quilted dog jackets. Like amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
actually,
think
I'll
I
link.
could get away with that.
Yeah.
No?
No. No, I really don't.
On Vertistyle.com right now, they have a safe sewing section, and they made all their accessory patterns for free. And there's a really cute dog coat pattern that's free right now. If you use the code, I think it's like safe sewing. I'll write it in the show notes, but they're offering, yes, there's a really cute, dog coat pattern, even though it's probably not, I guess it's still pretty cold out in some, I know here in Toronto, it's still, if I just stepped outside, I would definitely need a hat, for sure. If I stepped outside, I haven't been out.
I feel like we're going to all emerge from this wearing like crazy quilted jackets from Stash Fabric.
Oh, I mean, print mix is so in right now. Like, I want to see some like challenge, like print mix challenge. Yeah, scrap bus, make something like crazy and just if you don't think it goes together, they're probably more, it does go together. I just love like a contrasting print mix. So even just like us talking right now, it's like really getting me excited to, definitely utilize what I have. I think even for the Sew Your Roll, like I'm just going to find the closest possible thing to like my neutral green. And I mean, I definitely have something in there, but I've definitely, I don't know.
Well, one final thing I wanted to mention to kind of, if you're not feeling inspired to sew, but you want to sew, and we're going to go into this more in depth later, is to find a way to kind of be helpful, either by sewing masks or sewing gowns or wherever there's kind of a need in your community. Meg, I know that you've done some of this and I've done some of this, and it's really, I think it's so hard right now where it feels like the only thing you can do is stay home. And I will say that sewing some masks for my husband's workplace, which is mental health focused, has felt really, really good. And I know it was helpful for them, but on my end as well, it just felt like I could do something. But we'll dive in a little bit deeper to that in a minute. Also wanted to talk through some ideas for if you don't feel like sewing at all, but there's plenty you can do that kind of will set you up for success when you do feel like sewing again, and things that will kind of, I don't know, still feed your creative spirit without you having to be in front of a sewing machine. And one of those was definitely organizing your sewing space, Kate, like taking a moment to go through your fabrics, go through your patterns, and really kind of be judicious and get rid of the stuff that you're not using so it doesn't distract you anymore. Do you have any tips for that, Kate?
Do I have any tips? Oh,
just do it.
Yeah, just do it. And, don't be too precious, especially, stop and think about, is this something that I could actually do something with? If you wouldn't piece it, get rid of it. If you would piece it, then maybe go ahead and keep it. If you think you can get a garment out of it, even if it's a small garment, sure, maybe keep it. If you're looking at long strips and you're like, but I could use this for something, maybe not. That's kind of where I am right now. And I haven't really started. I'm kind of looking around at I have a built-in shelf that's just the perfect level for keeping all of my notions and stuff. And it is a disaster. And once I get through the fabric and the patterns, then that's where I'm going to start and I'm probably not going to get rid of any of it. I just need it to be organized because it's not right now. But I can't help thinking about how much fun it's going to be to start sewing in that room when it's clean, when I know exactly where all of my bobbins are, and I know exactly where all of my pins are, and I can find anything I want, and I can pull something off the shelf without worrying about a small avalanche burying me. So yeah. One of the things I'm going to do is look through my patterns, decide which ones I'm likely to actually be sewing in the next some amount of time, and I'll keep those out, and the rest of them will go into a bin where I keep my patterns. I think that's a good way to do it because my pattern collection out here is just growing and growing, and it's like, okay, but if I know I'm not going to be making this, it can go where where it will take me 5 minutes to reach it instead of 2, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I got.
I like it. I think same goes for your wardrobe. And I need to do this so bad, but I feel like right now's a good moment to do that. Same kind of approach. Be judicious and let stuff go. Because if you're stuck at home and you're surrounded by your stuff, I think you tend to realize how much stuff you actually have.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know what a good tip is? And I need to do this because I do this like every twice a year, I guess, every season. Like we have no closet, so everything's out. So I have buckets like my spring, summer wardrobe, and then my fall, winter. So I switch out my entire wardrobe. I hang it all back up. But sometimes and then I have so much fun like trying things on again. But what I like to do at the beginning of each season, because sometimes, I don't know if this is like, if you guys do this too, but you just get stuck in wearing the same top with the same pair of pants because it goes or something. You sometimes don't switch it up. So I would just try and create outfits and take like a selfie with it. And so if I can't figure out like an outfit to wear, if I'm just feel like I'm gravitating to that same striped turtleneck with those same pair of jeans, like just flip through, like have an album in my phone being like just outfit options from what you have. It just like fun things like that, just trying on like what works. Because sometimes I would pick up like a pair of pants and like a vest and like a random tank and be like, I guess they kind of work, but then I put them on and then I'm like, wow, this is a really cute outfit. And then just do like some outfit trying on,
little experimenting,
like just shake it up, like just try different pairings within your own wardrobe and different, like, I don't know, it's if you just wanted to, it's not like you're creating anything new or not even organizing, you're just like trying things on. I don't know, that's something you could do as well.
I love that.
Yeah, it's kind of fun.
Oh, I so need to do that. One thing that I have also been enjoying is doing a little bit of sketching and planning.
Oh yeah.
Because it has been so hard to think about like what are our lives going to look like in a month. But the one thing I can control is what am I sewing next? So so I'm going to focus on that. But I think if you have wanted to spend time sketching or or planning your makes out a little bit more, now's a good time to do that, thinking about spring and summer.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. A few more things. I'll just tick through them kind of quickly. There are a number of online photo challenges on Instagram right now. And again, don't have to sew something. You don't have to make anything new. It's a nice moment to connect with people and think about sewing without actually sewing. If it's available to you, you could consider getting your machines serviced. If there's a way for you to drop them off, if you have anybody local that you use, they might still be wanting that income and you can support them. At the same time, get your machines taken care of while you don't feel inspired to use them. And finally, kind of focus on some sewing related activities that get pushed to the side sometimes. If you have been thinking about starting a blog or going back to your blog, I think writing about sewing can be just as beneficial as sewing sometimes. Or take the time to take an online class and work on your photography skills if that's something that is a goal of yours. And really, kind of come at sewing from a different but still creative perspective. And I think there's a lot you can do if you don't feel at all like being in front of your machine.
Yeah. And I just want to say too, like if you're, like, it's also totally okay. You don't have to organize everything. If you do just want to sit on the couch and, binge watch your
Totally.
favorite show, like we're just like, that's totally, totally okay. Like, I just want to say that, like, these are just some, of course, like
absolutely.
some ideas. Yeah. Like, but these are just like, honestly, such crazy, crazy times. Like, it's just so surreal that, so, if you just
I
need to
saw
escape.
one of the million things I've seen on the internet lately was, remember, we are going through a trauma. And some of that, see, it seems like, it's not a fight or flight response kind of trauma, because really what we're doing is we're just staying in place. And then that sets off the third one, which is, I can't remember what the actual term is, but basically it's freeze. I think it's freeze. And a lot of us are in this place, like with me, I just keep taking naps. And I almost certainly do not need naps. But on the other hand, I actually do, because while I'm not moving around a lot, while I'm not physically doing a lot of stuff right now, mentally and emotionally, we're just throwing energy everywhere, trying to deal with all of this. And if the way you deal with that mental and emotional stress is sewing, that's great. If it's something else entirely, that is wonderful. I mean, heck, I'm making wine upstairs out of grape juice. It's fun.
I saw that. I love that. I love that so much.
Thank
so many
you.
people are making sourdough too. There's like a huge trend in
Lots
sourdough.
of baking.
Right, because that's something you need.
awesome.
You need time to really master. And if all you want to do is eat ice cream on the couch and sleep,
Totally.
I just know yourself, just knowing like from experience,
absolutely.
like what,
what's going to make you feel the best in the moment.
Right.
It's really day by day, hour by hour. And no awards. No awards given.
And no guilt. There's
no guilt.
There's no reason to feel bad if you don't want to be creative when everybody else around you is being creative. You're dealing with it in your own way, and you should never feel guilty about needing to deal with things the way you deal with things.
I think I saw a nice Instagram. I just following some. It's helpful for me to follow some, like body positive Instagram accounts that just give like and there was a post that, because sometimes I just get anxiety about, we're trapped inside the house and just like, you're not in your regular routine and stuff of just like, it's okay to like, gain weight during this time and like not joke about it. This is a trauma. Like, it's okay. And like, that has been really anxious for me, like being like, just not having the same motions and just like, I'm just like, oh, well, I need to sew all new clothes, like being fit. Like, that's just something like huge anxiety I'm dealing with. And even I've kind of taken a deep breath and you know what? It's okay. Like, this is like a huge trauma. And
I think, this is uncharted territory for everybody. So really, you just have to feel it out. You have to find, what's going to work for you, what isn't. And that's just going to be part of your story during this time.
Yeah. And, we're doing our best here to find, to help you find things. If you do want to be creative, if you do want to work on your sewing, like with our bonus episode we did last week, if you want to start sewing, we're trying to be supportive of that.
Yeah.
But you should never feel like we're trying to guilt you or make you feel like, this is what you should be doing, because really we're trying to help you if you want help.
Yeah. And find those things that bring you joy.
Yes.
And if anyone has any recommendations for like good, because I hate, like, I like moving, but I like just moving for fun. If anyone has any good like Zumba online, like, or like dance YouTube classes, I've been having a hard time finding like fun, like aerobic, like dance classes online. If anyone has any recommendations,
my gosh,
it's like that's fun. For like, that doesn't feel. I hate like feeling like I'm like working out at home. Like, I just, that does not do nothing for my mental health, or like even just it makes me stressed out. So I just love to dance. If anyone has any recommendations,
I do. I'll send them along.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I want them to because, in another week and a half, I might actually be able to dance.
Nice.
Because right now I can't, but someday I will. And I like moving like that. So
Yeah, dancing is fun. Sewing and dancing, guys.
That's all you need. A
That's all
simple
you
lady.
need. All you need. Oh, okay. Should we take a quick break and then
Let's
jump
do
into
it.
our next topic? Perfect.
That's good.
So you have all probably seen a ton of information on Instagram, Facebook, even on the news of people stepping up and making handmade or DIY fabric face masks. And I just want to give you all some information. I know I've been making them. Amanda's been making them, but I know they're a little bit of a people can be like skeptical of them, and just know your information. And a lot of the times just know what the end use of them for. And before you just go in and just kind of sew some, I suggest the first thing that you do is kind of follow some like local health organizations, or just be in tune to watch your local news, because how I got into sewing. I'm sewing for kind of two local in Toronto. They even like specifically called for an East Toronto sewists. We need masks, and then you can just specifically cater what your mask sewing is to their particular needs. Because I find that each kind of initiative has a different need. So I'm sewing for it's a hospital, and they're trying to get 1,000 masks every week, and these are not for kind of the frontline healthcare workers. These are for like visitors, maybe discharged patients. So they want to reserve those key masks for their frontline workers, and they just need fabric masks as where they're not necessarily being used to really block the virus. Exactly.
Backup and support.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I'm also making, look local. So you have like a purpose, not just kind of just to make them to see, because some of them have specific fabric recommendations. I know I'm sewing them for, in my local community, the Toronto Humane Society. They are donating all of their N95 masks to the hospital, but they need like some sort of mask. So they're calling masks just to replace their supplies so they can give all of their supplies to the hospital. And so they just need a pleated mask design, but the hospital is actually asking for, the sides to be open so they can insert filters. So it's just some details, just looking at what is exactly needed and just kind of sewing and providing that. So I think, if you want to help, I would just say kind of look local, what's being asked, look for call outs. So I know, Amanda, you've been sewing some masks. Do you want to tell us more about that?
Sure. My husband works in mental health, and they provide community outreach to some really vulnerable parts of the population. But there's a lot of support people within that organization. People who are working front desk, people who are providing more support roles to the people who are really interacting with patients one-on-one. So I definitely connected with them. Because they're mental health, they're not on the top of the list for the personal protective equipment in the state of Colorado. So that's really kind of where their need came up. And so, I'm really just figuring out what it was that they needed. And I've sewn two types of masks. Some that were more like the surgical mask with the pleats, and then also some that have the higher nose ridge. I'm not exactly sure what those are called, but I've sewn a little bit of both, and I think they were very much appreciated.
Yeah, and as we're sewing for ourselves, it was just definitely a really good project to feel good about, and just knowing like if you are putting your skill set to help. And I found it was a really big stress reliever for me. But there are so many patterns out there. I know when I even started thinking about, maybe I should sew some masks. I put on my Instagram, I'm like, pattern recommendations, and someone was like, oh, why don't you check and see what they're actually asking for? And so there's usually instructions that they specifically like link to with dimensions and patterns. So you can look there, but there are tons of patterns out there. I know there was a post that went up recently on So Daily. It's a really great kind of round out post talking about fabrics that are suitable and patterns. It's a handmade mask roundup. So we'll definitely link to that. And kind of also going with what we were talking about, kind of revisiting some blogs. So I actually posted on my personal blog. I'm trying to rev that up again about kind of blowing up my sewing steps, because sometimes the pictures that I was looking at were really small. And so I really stepped them out because I know some of my friends want to help, and I'm going to lend them a sewing machine, and I just want to give some more detailed instructions for that as well. So
right. I definitely, we were talking about batch sewing, and that was definitely my approach for these. I also, there were a couple of steps that my daughter was able to help out with, like turning things right side out. Not so much the pinning, but she did do a little bit of pressing.
Nice.
Pretty impressive. Hey, that was the sewing pun.
It was. You get another one. It's our first sewing pun in a while.
But I didn't catch it. What'd you say? It was.
I said her pressing was impressive.
Oh, that ching. That was good.
I've probably used that one before. But that was kind of nice too, just to kind of give another level of like whole family working together to do this, and and give her like a little feeling of doing good in a kind of scary moment.
Yeah, that's sweet. Yeah. Well, I haven't gotten into this yet, but I'm feeling pretty inspired right now, and I'm thinking about my basket scraps behind me, which I think because I know that quilting cotton is high up there on the list, right?
Mostly I'm seeing a lot of the fabric recommendations are 100% cotton and quilting cotton, so that's what I've been working with. So and you don't need very much, so if you even have just like a bunch of little squares, definitely that seems to be a go-to fabric. And people are also suggesting using like bed sheets and stuff, even if you don't have yardage of fabric or your quilting cottons and dish towels, and there's a bunch of things that you can use. And I wanted to talk also about elastic alternatives because I definitely ran out of elastic, and so people are using. You can just extend like a bias strip, cut bias strips of fabric. You can use even like elastic, like cord, not full on elastic, like just like cord stretchy cording. You can use just making sure that it's not too wide. I find that that's kind of the key. There was a good tip from someone, because I know I sewed a test mask with it was 1/2 inch elastic, and I put it on and it was super uncomfortable. So the recommendations is no wider than 3/8 of an inch. So I replaced that elastic. But I saw a tip where someone actually serged down their elastic, so it was more narrow and they could utilize still that yardage of an elastic. And I thought that was really smart. So if you have kind of that wider elastic, you can serge it down. But what else could you use for?
Wow, if you did that smart, you could take a pretty wide piece and make several strips. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my 2-inch elastic, which is sitting right next to me.
Yeah, if you tried to like serge it, and you could cut it in almost in pieces, or at least you could maybe just utilize the 2 edges. I don't know about like that center strip.
Yeah. I've seen some creative ideas out there. I happened to, I ran out of elastic, and then I used my like last errand before our shelter at home orders came through to go get some more, which I found in the kid beading section. It's just some elastic cording that's kind of like what hair ties are made from. And they kind of have a woven covering to them. But I've seen some cool things. There was a tip for using just strips of knit fabric. If you cut that, and then it rolls up, as long as you don't cut it too small so that it could stretch out and rip. And obviously using something that has probably like a decent recovery would be good. I also saw someone using pantyhose, like
Love that.
nylon. And,
Yes.
it was obviously going to be really soft, going to be stretchy, something that you could still find in the store if you are going out to the store. I love that. I feel like it's such a hard moment, but there's like so many creative solutions coming out of it.
Mhm.
It's
I
pretty
know.
amazing.
I hadn't seen the pantyhose ones, but that makes so much sense.
Yeah,
I just love sometimes like the creativity that's coming
exactly.
out of, even in terms of just like people being creative, just having fun with their friends over Zoom and stuff. And
Right.
I just, not even with sewing, just like kind of living life
Yeah.
isolated, the creativity of still connecting is just, I love. And I mean, the funny memes on Instagram are just like literally getting me through this.
No,
Oh,
definitely.
I know it's a lot of off topic, but just they're so funny. Some of them, you just gotta laugh sometimes through
Yeah.
it. I mean, if that's your way to. But okay, so next is open for filters, and so you can. So I saw someone. I think it was oh, I can't remember. I think it was Stephanie from Modern Society. She was using like reusable, like that she had washed grocery bags. Like that was a good kind of filter material
Hmm.
that she inserted in. But sometimes they call for, the ones that I did that it's just open and they just have their own filters. But so you can adapt them that way. And then also for I call them nose pinchies.
That might be the
What?
technical name. I don't
The
know.
notes, but there's so many things that you can use. I know Amanda gave me the tip of flattening out a paper clip,
Yep.
and that worked really, really well for the ones that I made. And twist ties work really good. What I
Mm-hmm.
was doing is for twist ties, I would just center them and then I would just zigzag over the twist tie in the paper and then flip it out. And it was like, because part of me is like, I know I shouldn't really, but I'm just, I get really nervous when my stitching isn't perfect on my masks.
No. Oh,
when they're not
no.
like, I just need to let it go. But I've undid something because like it wasn't like pretty enough. But even though it was totally fine, like I just had to shake it. I was like, Meg, you could just be making another one with this time. But I've gotten better at that. I have let go of my.
That's so funny. I mean, I had those moments too because
Yeah.
I was making them for like my husband's coworkers,
Right, so-
and I was like, "Oh man, they're gonna think I'm a heathen."
Yeah, they're like, and you said she works for a sewing
Exactly.
magazine. No.
Yeah, they don't care.
I know.
They don't care at all.
Oh, as I always need to remember, people who don't sew look at something and they don't notice they don't notice if the stitching is like uneven a little bit from the edge. But I've definitely
Not
let
only
that go.
do they not notice, they're impressed.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or even Julian suggested a pipe cleaner also could really could work really well. Just like inserting it into the layers. And one of my tips too for the one, I just folded over my allowance because I don't like creating like snipping a little hole in a channel to insert like the paper clip, but I just used a longer stitch length for once I flipped it down and top stitch, and then I just inserted it in between the stitches, and then
That's a good idea.
and then fed it through so I would have no visible hole. So I just kind of, I need to let it go. But, and then, so pipe cleaners, twist ties, paper clips are great. I'm trying to think if there's any other creative things I've seen for the nose pinchy. Just, I guess anything wire or even like jewelry wire. You know what? I do have some I have this random jewelry making caddy when I was into making, and I have some some jewelry wire
that could work.
That could totally work. I just thought of that right now, so I might need to go out and grab some of that. So tons of different things that you can use for that. And types of fabric. So we talked about this, but when I was looking at the instructions for the 1,000 masks a week project, it wanted dark colored on the outside but light colored on the inside. So just like specifics like that as well, just colors I'm not sure, but if you have it, then just see what's needed. But yeah, quilting cotton is great. Yeah, so just if you want to help, look local, see what they need, use a pattern, super easy, use what you can, get creative. And also lastly, look for the drop-off protocols as well. Sometimes there's
good point.
different like they want them packaged differently. I know the ones that I'm dropping off to the Humane Society, they want them in like a tied plastic bag and you leave it outside the door and like labeled. And so just look for the drop-off protocol. And sometimes even if you are outside, I know there's some sewists in the Toronto community that have been offered to kind of collect on the way. So a lot of not a bunch of people are going to the hospital, drop it off, but there's going to be one person and they will you just leave it on your doorstep and they'll go around on their way there and collect. So just communicating with your local sewing community to kind of figure out some good ways to get them made and get them there. So
absolutely, it's kind of been awesome to see those
it
communities
has.
kind of rally and work together and to get people supplies. And I went when I went on my last run before my shelter in place. I was looking for mask supplies with another woman there who was doing the same, and she had a bunch of elastic and I didn't have any. So, gave her my phone number. She called me later.
I love that.
And at that point I had found the beading elastic, like the thicker stuff. But it was just kind of a nice thing, like giving my phone number to people in the craft store, and but also felt kind of awesome.
Yeah. That's very cool.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of elderly people that live in my building too. So once I delivered all of my masks, I'm going to make like a bunch and I'm going to wash them in individual baggies. I'm going to put them in the lobby, and we have a group email, and anyone who needs one, to even just the comfort of I think I might even start wearing one just so I don't touch my face when I'm out, because I know, I think I accidentally touched my face when I was out the other day, and I
think it's
panicked.
a good idea to save some for yourself.
That's true. That is true.
Somebody does get sick in your house, then you can protect other people, and also to help you remind yourself not to touch your face and all of those things.
It's just like a physical barrier. Sometimes.
My dad is immunocompromised, and for me, I'm always like I'm not visiting my dad right now because I don't want to risk it. But whenever I think about, my mom does all the shopping, but if she wasn't there to do that and he had to go out, then, me putting on a mask could help somebody like that who, you never know. That's all I'm saying.
Exactly. I've been wearing one out just because my husband has been working with, with all kinds of folks, and just thinking that, it was something that I could be carrying and transfer to someone else. That was so, and I think, it's hard to get used to and hard for my kids to see, they see me with it on. And I think that it's just a little alarming.
It is alarming.
But they we brought them in on it. We have explained it's more about, keeping other people from getting it. And, they're getting used to it. They're pretty adaptable.
Did you make some kid-sized ones for them?
Ruby has one, and but the boys do not. But I should make them some.
Yeah. And also just before we jump into our last segment, I know this episode's running a bit long, but there's just so much to say, and we have time. And I hope, and if you're enjoying this podcast, I'm glad that you're here with us. We're all in this together, guys. But just in terms of, also supporting local, I know Julian and I have been at least like twice a week, the local restaurants that can't that we like to go to, we have been ordering takeout and delivery, just kind of making sure that we want them to be there, survive this when our favorite local spots, so just doing that,
Yeah, we're
Just kind
trying
of-
to do that too.
Yeah,
Yep, same here.
and I think that's really great.
And remember
and
to
then
tip well, because some people aren't
Exactly, no.
tipping.
Yeah. When I think it's good that Uber Eats, and I know in Toronto they're offering 0 delivery fees on local restaurants, if they're local and not a chain. And then I'm just like, I'm just extra tipping, because I mean, those people are really doing great work. And even we thanked all of the frontline workers, and even the people who still have to work at the grocery store. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
they are like, it's amazing what they're still showing up to work, and they still are all, I always make sure to just smile and just be super polite and just really thank you. And, there's,
Mhm.
it's crazy times, but it's just, I really thank all of the people that are still making it possible for some normalcy in our lives right now, for sure. So yeah, just try and do what you can for the community. So
Totally.
yeah.
Absolutely. All right. What do you think? You guys ready to move on to our SewJo?
Sure.
I'm ready.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So for anybody who doesn't know or doesn't remember, our SewJo is what's giving us our sewing mojo at the moment. I feel like this whole episode has kind of been a little bit of a SewJo. And so you might not be hearing anything different from any of us today. But Amanda, why don't you start us off? What's your SewJo?
Well, I did not take my own advice and took on a really involved pattern hack.
I saw that.
I
It's
have
awesome.
no idea why, but because I'm definitely a basic sewer. All the things that we talked about earlier. I've definitely been thinking about easy projects, but I just kind of got a wild hair, and it was honestly kind of awesome to jump into it and try to figure out the math and get really excited about it and stay up too late sewing. And of course, I have nowhere to wear it now because A, there's nowhere to go, and B, it's a linen jumpsuit, like a boiler suit. But I think I remember last episode asking for some recommendations because I had boiler suit on the brain. I found kind of a ready to wear inspiration piece and decided that I was just going to give it a go. And it really, it worked out. And there were moments when I was kind of doubting it. And it was like, why did I take this on right now? Like, this feels kind of stressful. But in the end, kind of working through that and kind of coming up with creative solutions as I went along was really kind of awesome. Just total distraction. I know that was what it was, and I'm okay with that. And but it was really, I don't know, it filled my soul, and
It turned out so great. I love it.
I'm pretty excited about it. And so yeah, I'm making another one immediately.
What I like is I like the look of like a denim, but sometimes that's like heavy. But I like how yours looked like denim, but it was just like blue linen. That's right. So it's like comfy without being like full like denim, but it had like that vibe, and I thought it was super cool. And the back like casing, I was like, I loved it.
It was kind of a journey. I usually don't document it the things that well, but I've kind of enjoyed just kind of sharing the process and being lost in it myself a little bit.
Nice.
Awesome. How about you, Meg? What's your SewJo?
Well, I need to make some more like comfy pants. So I'm actually gonna make a pair of Nini culottes because they were and I have this double gauze, so I'm gonna make a nice gauzy pair of Nini culottes.
Oh, that sounds so nice.
I know. I think I even have enough for 2, so I might make 2 in case I got into spilling myself a lot. So I think it's fine. It took the entire episode, but my pants are dry now, and so it's great. And the tomato sauce is gone, guys.
Way to go!
Man, Tide to Go's are amazing. How about you, Kate? What's your SewJo?
All right. Well, I'm a little still on my sewing slump, and I'm also overwhelmed by the mess that I'm trying to clean up because, I had to pull out all the stuff in order to sort it. So I'm kind of surrounded by disaster right now. But what's kind of getting me through right now is I have some projects that I need to make for the Creative Machine Embroidery fall issue. There are a couple of in the hoop projects I need to make samples of, and then a garment project. And I am looking forward to setting up my embroidery machine and doing those. They're usually short little projects, but they're fun. And one of them I actually digitized myself. So I'm looking forward to seeing if it works. We're not quite sure yet. And so I'm looking forward to that.
Nice.
All right. Let's move on to our Sew and Tell segment. Last time, which was fully 2 million years ago, we asked you what your favorite and least favorite color is to sew with. So we got a lot of great responses to that, really all over the board. Some of them sounded exactly like Amanda, and some of them sounded exactly like Meg, and some of them sounded exactly like me, and some of them sounded like none of us. And so it was really fun to read those. So we pulled out a few to share with you today. Meg, why don't you start us off?
Sure. So Tori Sews said, I absolutely hate sewing with white unless it's somehow not see-through at all. But if it's not see-through, then it's just usually too heavy. And that's totally true.
Yeah, truth. I mean, that's kind of my problem with white.
Yeah. Oh,
me too. Especially if you order it online, especially it's so hard.
You don't know.
Yeah, it's always a mystery. How about you, Amanda? What do you have for us?
I have a comment from Hess Makes, who said, I like sewing with anything muted or navy blue. I'm on a navy blue kick too right now. I recently did color analysis and got soft summer, so I'm trying to branch out more into muted greens and purples.
Ooh.
Least favorites are black and white. They're a pain to sew and both look absolutely terrible on me. Yeah, I saw a couple of comments about black being kind of hard to sew with, and that has totally happened to me, like in my basement, not the best lighting, but also if I can't see it well enough to see the mistake while I'm sewing it, probably no one else is going to see the mistake either.
Point.
So
yeah,
that's my approach.
Nice. Well, I'm sitting here looking at the last one that I'm going to read, and I honestly did not pick these to rag on black and white. I really, really didn't. I just kind of picked the longest ones, but the longest ones apparently. Anyway, MB So Bobby said, I love most colors, but sew purples and pinks the most. Me too. I don't like to sew black because it is so hard to see the stitches and seams. I sew black with gray thread. Otherwise, I can't see the black thread to pick it out when needed.
Oh.
So, but as Amanda said, if it's not a huge mistake, you might not even have to pick it out at all.
I will say that I went to buy some black thread one time, and someone had put super duper 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 dark green in the black slot, and I bought it. And because you really, unless you're in the exact right light, you can't tell. And I have sewn so much stuff with that thread. I just let it go. And
good to know.
You can definitely tell it's green, but yeah, it can be challenging for sure.
Yeah. At least it's on the inside, the serging.
Yeah.
So for this episode, we would like to ask you, how are you using sewing to support your mental health right now? And if the answer is not at all, that's totally fine. Like we talked about earlier, we'd just like to hear, how you're combining your hobby with this adventure we're having. I'm just going to keep calling it an adventure journey. Yeah. So, hey, thanks for talking about this with me, guys.
Yeah.
I feel like this is what's going on. This is taking over our lives, and this is what we need to talk about. So.
It's a big experience.
Yeah, we're living history.
It's crazy because it's even how we are not even that far apart, but still we're in different countries and we're going through the exact same thing. And I know even my family in Europe, everyone, it seems like in the world is going through this unifying thing together. And it's crazy. But
so
stay home. I think that's
so. Yeah. And yes, remember, If you can't or don't want to sew masks or anything else for other people, you can still always help just by staying home, keeping your social distance, making sure that you're keeping other people safe and keeping yourself safe. As like I said, my dad's immunocompromised. As somebody who has that going on in my life, I really appreciate anyone who takes the time to keep distance from people, because you never know. You never know what's going on with other people.
Totally.
So I guess we want to say for this one, stay safe, stay healthy, and happy
stitching or not.
Or not.
Take good care.
Yes.
Yeah.
For links to everything we talked about in this episode, go to our show notes page at sewdaily.com/sewandtell. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at sewandtellpodcast@goldenpeakmedia.com or visit us on Instagram at sewandtellpod. Answer the Sew and Tell question, tell us your SewJo, or just leave us some feedback. If you enjoyed our show, please subscribe on your podcasting platform of choice. And please leave us a review, ideally a good one, because that helps listeners like you find our podcast. And tell your sewing friends about us too. Thanks for listening, and happy stitching. Sew and Tell is produced by Meg Healy, Amanda Carestio, and me, Kate Zeinard. Our consulting producer is Ron Doyle, and our executive producer is Jared Mayer.